If you have ever opened ChatGPT, asked it a question just to get a response that is completely useless, you are not alone. We have been told that we need to use AI or AI will take our jobs, but half the time when we try to use it, we get responses that sound like a bot. They don't give us half of what we need, and we end up spending more time going back and fixing up and editing the response than we would have if we just did the work ourselves. I thought this is something that I would just have to deal with, that the tools weren't up to scratch, but it turns out the people who are preaching about how good AI is, they're using these tools differently. I wanted to know what they were doing differently, how I could get the same results. So I dove into the research, I did a whole bunch of trial and error, and I developed this framework that I now use to get amazing results from AI every single time. Today, I'm going to share this in hopes that it saves you hours of time, hours of research, and helps you live and work more productively. Because while there's hundreds of new tools and new upgrades coming out every single day, none of them are going to get you the results that you're looking for if you don't know how to use them properly. The first step to using AI effectively is understanding what you're doing wrong right now. The easiest way I can explain this is with an experience that we've probably all gone through. When you were growing up, at some point, you were probably handed a musical instrument. For me, it was the viola. And you might not remember, but your parents certainly will. When you first got this instrument, it was completely useless. The tool that a professional musician could use to make an entire audience cry made your friends run away because they didn't want to hear the screeching. The truth is, generative AI is exactly like this instrument. ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, they're unlike anything we've ever used before. They're completely different to your Google or your typical workflows. And so we're here trying to use these tools without any experience, without any knowledge, and we're expecting to get the same results as someone who knows how to actually use them strategically. The biggest reason you're getting generic results that aren't what you need is because these models have been trained on billions and billions of data points from all across the internet and a bunch of different sources. And so it understands a lot. It has a whole collection of information. Its IQ is way beyond what any of us could do alone, but the model doesn't understand you. It doesn't understand your worldview, your experiences, and what you specifically need from it. So we have to come in and teach it to think like you. And this is why AI's power, at least for now, will always be limited by something called prompt engineering. Prompt engineering is simply another skill, and it's much simpler than it sounds. But when you learn how to do this effectively, you unlock three massive advantages: time, leverage, and security. I want to explain this because learning a new skill takes time. It's not always easy. You're not always going to feel motivated. But if you understand the benefits and what it will actually do for you, then you're more likely to keep pushing through and keep actually applying what you're learning to experience the benefits. First, let's talk about time. Everyone loves to say, AI cut my workload in half. AI helped me do 20 hours of work in 1 hour. And I think a lot of that is overreaction. However, 5 minutes of good prompting really can save you hours of manual work. Let's say you've got an overflowing inbox. You could handle this the traditional way. Go through every email, pull out all the action items, draft your responses, try to be polite but professional but not too formal, and sit there 90 minutes later, only halfway through and completely brain dead. Or you could create one super effective prompt. This prompt could go through and summarize your email. It could pull out the action items for you. It could draft an initial response in your tone of voice. You could then come in, make any minor adjustments, and send it off. This could all take you 30 minutes to do without draining all your mental energy and leaving you with more time to tick off the other things on your to-do list. The time saved is massive, but here's the thing that most people don't think about. You're probably at this stage already using AI to help with your emails. But when you prompt it the wrong way, you're actually wasting time. You're investing more time into fixing up the response that it gives you than it would have taken you to write the email yourself. Knowing how to prompt is the easiest way to fix this. The next thing we have to talk about is leverage. Everything you do in life has a certain amount of leverage. Learning to write well is high leverage. Yes, it takes time investment up front. No, it's not always easy, but once you learn how to master the skill of writing, it has so many benefits across every area of your life. It helps you communicate your ideas more effectively, be more strategic, think more clearly. That upfront investment pays massive dividends down the track. In contrast, learning to put your lipstick on exceptionally well is low leverage. Unless you're planning on becoming a makeup artist or your appearance is essential to your career, slightly improving the way that you do your makeup is not going to have outsized returns on the goals that you have in your life. There is a lot of noise in the AI space. We all feel it. People are telling you to learn this tool, don't do that, focus on this area. Prompt engineering, at least in my experience, is the skill that cuts through it all. It's the 20% of knowledge that gets you the 80% of results. When you learn how to communicate with generative AI to get what you want, suddenly you unlock the power to summarize reports in minutes instead of hours. You can create personalized learning roadmaps tailored to your exact needs. And you can organize your work and life without spending hours or days setting up complex systems and overthinking it all. One new skill, massive returns. And if you need any more motivation to get started, let's talk about security. Knowledge work is evolving. According to Microsoft's 2025 Trends Report, soon we're all going to be managers, not of people, but of AI. We won't write the report. We're going to have a team of little assistants. One is going to research for us, another's going to write the report, and then we're going to come in and just review the final product. When we look to analyze data, we won't be the ones in the spreadsheet. We will have an AI tool go in there, summarize it for us, do all the hard work, and then we're going to take the results and use those. The people who can really effectively direct these new team members, they're the ones who are going to be massively in demand. By mastering prompt engineering now, you're developing the specific skill that's going to increase your value in the workplace. It's going to increase your earning potential. It's going to help you deliver higher quality work faster. And it will probably also make you the person who other people come to for clarity. You can become a thought leader in the AI space within your specific industry or your company. This applies whether you work for yourself or an employer, and it's also going to be so helpful if you have a side hustle or even just in your personal life. Prompting has already given me so many benefits in my work and my life, and I think it's only going to increase from here. Now that I've got you on board, let's talk about how to actually write a good prompt. If you watched my last video, you will know I am not an AI expert. I developed this myself by doing some research, I consumed some content, and I did a bunch of trial and error. And eventually I came to this framework that I personally think about every time I'm prompting AI, just to recall the elements that I should include and things that are useful to generate a better response. I call it the coach framework. So let's break it down step by step. And don't worry about taking notes. I've made a cheat sheet that you can download. You can reference when you're creating your own prompts so you don't have to madly scribe. C stands for character. Oh my God, it sounds like I am saying the alphabet. C stands for character. Define who the AI should be. You don't want relationship advice from that friend who's never been in a relationship. You don't want career advice from someone who's never held down a job. So start every prompt by asking, if I could have anyone in the world answer this question or do this task for me, who would it be? For example, if you're trying to build a new skill, you might want a learning and development expert to help you out. This is a start, but we can do better. There are probably thousands of learning and development experts in the world. Who specifically do you want? What do you want them to specialize in? What do you want their strengths to be? Any traits or characteristics? Considering this, we can start our prompt with, you are a learning and development expert who specializes in creating personalized learning roadmaps for busy professionals. For your personal life, this could be something like, you are an expert health coach who specializes in gut health and energy optimization. The reason we do this is because it helps the AI to pull from the right sources. We spoke about how it has access to this massive collection of information. We don't want it to be accessing all of that when it's giving us health advice or career advice. We would prefer it to access specific information that's the most relevant to us. So always start your prompts, even just with a simple sentence, You are X. Next, we have the outcome. What do you want the AI to do? This is the core task that it's going to undertake. So do you want it to write? Do you want it to brainstorm? Do you want it to strategize or plan? You can go as broad or as narrow as you like, but the more specific you are, the more tailored your outcome will be. Building on our previous example, we could add create a 90-day learning plan for mastering practical data analysis skills to use as a consultant. Just keep it simple, specific, and task-based. We have the character, we have the outcome. The A stands for architecture, and I'm sorry it's not simpler, but it worked with the framework, so we'll go with it. This part is what a lot of people miss because it's not something that we intuitively think about when we're briefing someone in, but you need to tell the AI how you want the answer. If you're asking it to summarize a report, do you want the summary in dot points or do you want it in paragraphs? If you're using it to write a script, is it a 5-minute presentation or a 15-minute one? And do you want that email that you're sending in a formal or a casual tone? If you're missing this, it's probably why you're spending so much time going back and forth. So I'm going to share a few of my favorite things to think about when I'm doing this step in the prompt. Firstly, we've got the format. You want it in a table, lists, paragraphs, dot points, etc. Second, we have the length, so your word count or your time estimate. Third, we've got the tone, so professional, casual, persuasive. And you can also outline here if there's any specific sections or inclusions that you want in your answer, or you could give it an example of a previous piece of work that you've created and ask it to create it in the same format and the same style. If we add this section to our ongoing example, we could say, format this as a week-by-week schedule with 5 hours of learning per week. Include specific resources like courses, books, tutorials, hands-on practice exercises, and milestone projects that demonstrate progress. Divide the plan into 3 30-day phases with clear learning objectives for each phase. Add a weekly reflection template and a habit tracker to track progress. That is how you save time and improve quality.
Hello, this is Editing Taylor here. I wanted to flag in this section that I actually have a video coming out in a few weeks' time that talks about how to prompt AI to give you prompts like these. So if you're looking at this and you're like, wow, this is so much, I don't even know how to start with these prompts, make sure you subscribe and hang around because I'm going to be posting that video probably in a couple of weeks' time, and it's absolutely changed the game for me and it's going to save you so much time. So yeah, stay tuned for that and it will help you so much when you're creating your prompts.
Fourth and super important, the next C is context. This is where you need to provide relevant background information. A financial advisor gives very different advice to a 65-year-old who's about to retire than it does to a 22-year-old who's just starting their career. You have to remember that the AI doesn't know you. It doesn't know about your work or your company or your goals, and if you've used ChatGPT or another tool a bit in the past, they're getting a lot better at using memory to read across different chats. But it's still really important to tell it who it's speaking to, what problem you're trying to solve, and give it any information that it needs to help you solve that problem effectively. Context will help the AI tailor its response specifically for you. You can provide this context in a written format. For example, I'm a consultant with moderate Excel skills and some experience with Power BI. I've completed an introductory Python course. You can read the rest of that on screen if you want to. But the other option that you have is adding context in the form of documents, PDFs, uploads. So for example, if you're asking ChatGPT to help you write an email, can you upload a PDF of the past email threads so that it can actually see all the context and help you respond more effectively? Obviously being considerate of privacy implications. In a similar way, if you're asking it to create marketing content for you, do you have a brand brief that you can upload or an example of previous content that it could draw on? One of my favorite things to do, especially when I'm creating a major strategy or a project plan, is to actually do a deep research report using another AI tool and then use the report that generates, bring this into my AI chat, and then basically give whichever AI tool I'm using this whole bunch of context about the topic that I'm asking it to do a task on. If this is confusing and you want me to go into this process in more detail, just let me know, because I'm more than happy to do another video that explains the process. When you get this context piece right, you end up with a result that is so much more specific. It will be much closer to what you're actually looking for rather than just a generic bot-like response. Now, let's look at the final step in this framework, humanness, and you're going to understand exactly why I've called it this in a minute. Let's assume that you've gone through this whole process. You've nailed the character, the outcome, the architecture, and the context. For some prompts, that's going to be a lot of information for the AI to handle. What a lot of people don't realize is that in some ways, AI can actually be similar to humans. Firstly, it can get lost in the middle, which is basically where it pays more attention to the start and the end of the prompt and can sometimes miss details that you include throughout. The second thing, and there has been some debate around this, some reports say it's true, but some people say that it's not, but that is that AI actually responds to emotional cues and performance pressure. For example, if you say your careful analysis of this is essential to my career success, then it said that it could perform better. I put on the screen a few of my favorite ways to end my prompts that add this element of humanness, but the one that I would focus on in particular is ask me any clarifying questions you need to generate the best response. This one is such a good safety net because it means that if you've missed any context or you've missed anything in the architecture stage, then it will probably identify this and it will ask you questions to make sure that it has all the information that it needs. Let me show you how all of this comes together with a really practical example that might just transform both your personal and your professional life. This is a life optimization prompt. It's going to help you with your routines, your habits, your energy, and more. To save you listening to me drag on for 5 minutes, this is a shortened version of the prompt, but I popped the full thing as a bonus in the AI Prompt Playbook, which you can grab in the description below. It also contains the coach framework that we spoke about before and 5 prompts that I use to save time on a daily basis. So let's start with the character. You are a holistic productivity and lifestyle design coach who specializes in helping busy professionals create balanced, sustainable life systems. Next, we have the outcome. Create a comprehensive life optimization plan that helps me balance my full-time work, relationships, health, and side hustle. Next is architecture. C is the context, and in this section, you would add details about your current reality and your goals for work, your personal projects, your health, relationships, time priorities, life values. There's a bunch of information that you could add into this section. And finally, finishing with humanness. If you do go and use this prompt, let me know your results in the comments and whether you actually implement it into your life, because I ran this personally and I already had pretty good systems in place, but it actually gave me a few areas that I could really improve on and that I've already actioned and have made massive differences. Now, if you have watched any of my other videos, you will know that I am very passionate about being effective with your time and not wasting time on things that really don't matter. So I want to finish this video with a very big disclaimer. Do not go and spend 30 minutes writing a prompt from scratch for every single task that you're going to do. Be smart about when to use the full framework. There's 3 things you need to keep in mind to really make this framework work for you and use it productively. The first is to save your prompts. Once you've started building out a few core prompts, you won't need to start from scratch every time. You can save the prompts that you use regularly or even sections of the prompt that you might use again. I've started building up my own Notion database that has all the prompts that I use frequently and also keeps prompts that I've found from others online that I might like to use someday. You could do something really simple and just start with the Notes app on your phone for your really important prompts. And I've been really considering creating some kind of platform or community where we can all share prompts with each other, because I feel like there's so much we could learn and so many use cases that we haven't even thought about. So if this is something that you would find valuable, then please drop a comment and let me know, because if enough people are interested, I'll absolutely invest the time into building something that could work for all of us. The second thing to keep in mind is assess the impact of your task. Before you start crafting out a whole prompt, really think about, is this a task that you're going to do again? Is it a task that will take up a lot of time? Or is it of really high strategic importance, like creating an entire entire project plan. And the third thing is to iterate. This is a guide. It is not a scientific method. So start with this. It's going to give you a great foundation, but then adjust your prompts as you go. If you find certain elements that you do or you don't like to include, that's totally fine. Just find something that works for you and iterate over time. If you're ready to put this into action, then here are your action steps for this week. Firstly, make sure that you have the coach framework handy. You could go back and watch through this entire video, and that would be amazing for my analytics and my AdSense. But if you don't want to do that, then you can grab the download as I mentioned in the description below. Second, choose one high impact, repeatable task. Ideally something that takes at least 30 minutes that you do maybe on a weekly basis, and create one foundational prompt for that task using the coach framework. Third, test it. See what the results are like. If you like them, then make sure you save that prompt. If you don't like the results, then try and adjust the prompt so that it gives you what you need for next time. If you craft a prompt using this framework that gets really amazing results, then make sure you drop it in the comments below, because I would love to see what you've created, and I'm sure it would be super helpful for other people watching this video too. Thank you for being here. I hope this was really helpful as you're starting your AI journey. As always, let me know if there's anything you want to see in future content, and I will see you in my next video.